Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome to Waves of 10. The topic for this winter season is short stories. So let's jump right into it. The title for this seventh episode in short stories is Amazing Lover. My cousin Jenny said this to me about her lover, and I'm quoting her. When we make love, it's magical. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before. She said it to me when we were standing in my tiny apartment's kitchen. I was preparing supper, and the smell of raw seasoned chicken floats into my nostrils. Come on, I said, taking out a Pyrex dish from an overhead counter. Aren't you a lot unfair to Chris? After all, he did give you two beautiful children, and overall, he's a wonderful guy. The happiness in her light brown oval shaped face slowly disappeared, and the dreaminess in her big brown eyes vanished. Don't I deserve to be happy? She asked. For the past 3 years, all Chris does is work and sleep, work and sleep, work and sleep. Yeah, that's what you say, but that's still no reason to cheat on him. I reply, looking down at the Pyrex dish in my hands before bringing my eyes back to hers. Jenny pushed out her lips, folded her arms across her chest, and glared past me. I'm not going to let you ruin this for me, she said. This is not just a fling. I'm seriously thinking about leaving Chris. My mouth fell open, and I left it there for several seconds. You can't be serious, I finally managed to say. Why can't I? She darted at me. You don't even know this guy. What? You met him about 6 months ago and you two started sleeping together? Oh, excuse me, making love about 2 months ago? So what? She asked. So what? So what? What do you mean by so what? Jenny slowly dropped her hands to her sides and her shoulders fell. She walked over to where I was standing, took the dish from my hands, and rested it on the counter. Please don't let us fight. I know how much you love Chris, and I know that you hate this position I've put you in. My shoulders slumped. I'm not in love with my lover, but I'm falling fast and hard for him, Jenny said. But what about him? Does he feel the same way about you? He said that he cares deeply for me. I detached my hands from hers and hugged her tightly. I hope you know what you're doing. I breathed into her ears. She nodded. That was 3 months ago. Now she sits in my living room, her eyes a fountain with unlimited access of water. Jenny rang my doorbell about 3 hours ago. I had just finished frying some fish. For the first 30 minutes, she could not speak. For the next hour, she could not stop talking. And after that, she could not stop crying. So, a few hours before coming to my home, she had a heart-to-heart talk with her lover. Well, it was more like he had a heart-to-heart and she basically listened. He told her that he was married at the age of 22 and his wife was 21. However, he was not ready for a marriage. He wanted to wait for the right person. However, they both grew up in the same spiritual surrounding, and although she was in love with him, he was not in love with her, and he was basically forced into marrying her by their parents and their religious elders. Their parents were the ones who arranged for them to go on a few dates. And before he knew it, their parents started planning their wedding. Nevertheless, after the wedding, he tried to live a married life. He tried to be the husband that he thought he should be. However, after a year of trying, he still wanted out of his marriage because they hardly had anything in common. So, they hardly did anything he liked. And his wife? with her clingy, demanding, and possessive ways towards him was too much for him to handle. This was getting on his nerves. By the second year, his wife claimed that they should have had a baby by then, but because of his lack of faith in God and in their marriage, God had not blessed them with a child. She was convinced that a baby would fix their problems, and when no baby came, she continued to blame him for their problems. He wanted out of his marriage, but his wife and his spiritual environment would not allow it. He became desperate and fell into depression, and one day a bottle of pills was too attractive for him to resist. However, by some miracle, his body rejected the pills. He spent some time over the toilet, some time on sick leave, and as far as he knew, no one knew what he had done. Then, about a month later, he overheard a conversation that set him on the path with Jenny. He heard that there was one certain way for him to get out of his marriage, and that was for him to have an affair, a real affair, not just a prostitution arrangement. This was because his elders would ask him a lot of intimate questions, and the answers had to convince them that it was a real affair and nothing else. Therefore, he had to have a real affair. So, after he got home, he prayed about what he should do about this information. Then, the following day, Jenny walked into his mechanic shop and he was instantly attracted to her. So, right there and then, he knew that God had answered his prayers. She was the way out of his horrible marriage. So, he pursued her like a man who was suffocating and was in desperate need of oxygen. He just wanted to live a happy life. His wife and marriage were his unhappy places. So he read as much as he could about seducing a woman and pleasing her in bed. His wife had never complained about his performance in bed, but Jenny was different from his wife, and he was a man on a mission, and he was not going to fail. However, although he was attracted to Jenny, he was not looking to fall in love with her. But that's exactly what happened. He was now in love with her. Wow. So, does this mean that the two of you will now sail away towards the setting sun? I asked, hoping that she would not hear the sarcasm in my voice. Are you kidding me? She exclaimed. I was taken aback. I told him about Chris and our common law relationship, and I told him about our children, and he never once told me that he was married. He didn't? I asked. No, he told me that he was also in a common law relationship, not a marriage. So what difference does that make? She shot me a sharp look. Don't start with me and that. Marriage and common law is not the same thing, Jenny said. Okay, I said, putting up my hands into the air. Let's not get into that right now. But both of you are cheating. So what's the problem? He lied to me, and he used me as a means to an end. And do you know that he even had the gall to tell me that he wants me and the children to start attending his religious meetings? As if that's ever going to happen. I shook my head. He's a fake. Everything about him is fake. I knew that this was going to end badly, I said, shaking my head. I just knew it. Yeah, Jenny said, nodding. What have I done? What have I done? The end. Thanks for listening, guys. Goodbye.